7 days until Christmas and there is so much to do. Finding the perfect gifts for the family, decorating the house, and of course getting into the holiday spirit. Whiterun looks like it's all set for the season. But there is one man who's left everything to the last minute. Meet Chris. He lives in Briscoe with his wife Isolda and their 2 kids, Sophie and Blaze. This year he's determined to make every gift unique and personal, and he wants the house to have that cozy, magical Christmas vibe. Oh, and he also needs to get some Santa clothes. But there are only 7 days to pull it all together. To make things even trickier, I've turned on survival mode, so now I have to eat, sleep, and even stay clean. And as you can see, there is snow everywhere, not just in Whiterun, but all across Skyrim. Let's dive into the story and see if Chris can make this Skyrim Christmas happen. Chris decided to kick things off with a present for Blaze. The boy used to live on Catala's farm near Solitude with a beautiful view of the river. He worked hard on the farm but was always curious about fishing, watching others do it whenever he could. So Chris thought, why not make a gift around that? First, Chris cleaned out the basement and set up 4 aquariums. He figured he'd catch different types of fish so Blaze could watch them every day and feed them. He also planned to craft a fishing rod so Blaze could add even more fish to his collection. And to top it off, Chris thought a nice set of fisherman's clothes would be the perfect addition. To make it all happen, Chris decided to head to Riften. After all, there is the Riften fishery and a lake that seemed like the perfect fishing spot. Even though Chris got an early start, he didn't make it to Riften until evening. When he arrived, the town was already dressed for Christmas with decorations everywhere. Chris especially liked the Santa figures until he realized they rob you of 10 gold when you interact with them. There were presents scattered around town, but Chris didn't have time to grab any that day. He had to focus on fishing. He quickly grabbed a meal to fuel up, then spent a few hours fishing in 2 different spots. He managed to catch some interesting fish like goldfish, carp, and glassfish. Of course, not every catch of the day was a success. After a long day, Chris stopped by the Bee and Barb to grab some food and rent a room for the night. The room wasn't the most private, but it was a place to rest. Chris went to sleep ready to face the next day. And here are all the fish Chris managed to catch. The morning started off nice, but it didn't stay that way for long. The weather quickly turned gloomy. Chris fished for a while, and after catching a few more fish, he decided he'd had enough. He wanted to catch the rest in the river. That gave him some time to grab breakfast and check out the town. He wandered around, opening every present he could find. Each one had something inside, but his favorite find was the candy cane sword. It was a fun little surprise. He then stopped by a shop to pick up some fishing clothes, but unfortunately they only had a hat and boots. Chris wasn't worried though, as he planned to head to Solitude next, where he knew he could buy the clothes. He needed to go to Solitude as the only place in Skyrim that sells Christmas decorations is located near it. So Chris went to the carriage driver and the trip to Solitude took a full 24 hours. By the time he arrived, he was exhausted and starving, and there was no time to sleep. It was already midday. The sight of Solitude covered in snow and decked out in Christmas decorations made Chris even more excited for the holiday. He grabbed a quick meal at the Winking Skeever to fuel up for the day. Afterward, he headed to the shop to buy the last piece of fishing clothes. His next stop was the blacksmith, where he planned to craft a fishing rod. While he was there, he realized he'd need a backpack to carry all the Christmas decorations, but there wasn't one for sale in town. So he bought all the materials he needed, everything except firewood. That meant he could only craft the backpack for now. With that done, he left the town still feeling exhausted but determined to fish in the river. It was the same one Blaze had watched from the farm. Near the water, Chris found a wood chopping block and started chopping wood for the rod. It turned out to be tougher than he'd expected. As fatigue hit him hard, everything started to blur, but he pushed through. He was determined to catch fish, especially since Blaze had been through so much. After catching a decent haul, Chris decided to head to the shop with the Christmas decorations, but he didn't have the strength to travel any further. He set up a tent and took a quick 2-hour nap. When he woke up, it was late and the sun was nearly down, but he hoped the shop would still be open. The orange sky was breathtaking as he made his way to the Solitude Lighthouse where the shop was located. The shop had a unique vibe with beautiful Christmas trees and all sorts of decorations. Chris bought as much as he could carry, then decided to head back to Solitude for the night. He was in desperate need of a good rest. The sky was magical as he made his way back. Once back in Solitude, he went straight to the inn, warmed himself by the fire, had supper and rented a room. But before heading to bed, he realized he hadn't washed in a while, so he went to take a bath. After a thorough cleaning, he finally went to bed for a much-needed sleep. But of course, he'd have to wake up early again tomorrow. There was still so much left to do. As soon as Chris got up, he headed to the forge and crafted the fishing rod. It was the final part of Blaze's gift. With that done, he decided to take a walk around town before leaving Solitude. Sadly, he didn't find any presents along the way. Now it was time to focus on Sophie's gift. She was such a sweet girl who'd been through so much. Chris couldn't forget how he first found her alone and sleeping on the cold ground in Windhelm. He wanted to give her something special, a friend who could always be there for her and protect her. A dog seemed like the perfect choice. Chris remembered hearing rumors about a dog spotted in the forest southwest of Solitude. People said it looked abandoned and helping the dog would be a win-win situation. Despite the cold, Chris set off to search for the dog. On his way, he stumbled upon a snowman surrounded by presents. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything exciting inside. Freezing from the cold, Chris was relieved to spot a small village nearby where he found more presents to unpack. Among them was a sweet roll, just what he needed, and a gold ingot, which might have come in handy for another gift he had in mind. After warming up by the inn's fire pit and enjoying a sweet roll, Chris felt ready to continue his journey. This time he carried a torch, hoping it would keep him warm, but it didn't work all that well. When Chris finally reached the forest, he noticed a small shack. Inside, he found the body of a man and a note that mentioned the man's loyal companion Miko. A bowl lay on the ground, suggesting a dog might have lived here. But was it still around? Chris searched the area and returned to the shack after a while. There he was, Miko, an adorable dog with big, trusting eyes. Without hesitation, Chris took Miko with him. Chris set up a small campfire to warm up, but it didn't do much against the cold. Both of them hurried back to the village tavern, where they warmed up near the fire and Chris had some lunch. Feeling a little better, they quickly made their way to the nearest carriage driver and headed straight to Whiterun. Chris planned to sneak Miko into the basement, and luckily no one was in the dining or kitchen area when he entered the house. It felt a little sad to leave Miko alone down there, but Chris wanted to keep the surprise for Christmas. As he left the basement, he ran into Sophie. He was lucky it hadn't happened sooner.
I played with Lucy in the park today. I feel sorry for her.
The things she said stuck with him, but for now, he focused on grabbing a warm meal, cleaning up after the long journey, and getting some much-needed rest. First thing in the morning, Chris headed down to the basement to fill all the aquariums with fish. He especially loved the one with orange fish. Chris decided to bring Miko along for some fresh air and company, even though it was a bit risky. Next, he headed to the tanning rack to craft a ball for Sophie to play with Miko. Then, it was time for the final part of Sophie's present, the red dress with sleeves and gold sandals. For that, he mainly needed red mountain flowers and a linen wrap, which could be made from tundra cotton. So Chris set off around the town to gather the flowers. It wasn't hard to find them, and after a short time, he had everything he needed. With that done, Chris went to Belethor's shop to pick up some teddy bears just to make the house feel a little cozier for Sophie. Next on the list was Isolda's gift. Chris decided to craft her some fancy new clothes. After Christmas, New Year's Eve would be coming up, and he thought a beautiful long black dress and silver sandals would be perfect for her. He also wanted to give her a blue short dress with sleeves, since she loved blue dresses. For something a little more practical, Chris planned to get her a regular outfit for work at the shop or the Bernard Mare in the future. Brown sandals would work well with that. There was just one problem: he needed a lot of flowers, especially tundra cotton. He searched all around town and found plenty, but not enough for all the clothes. He checked with Arcadia's Cauldron and Belethor's shop, but no luck there. Still, Chris spotted 2 necklaces that would go perfectly with the dresses, so he bought those. With the town search, he decided to head out to find more tundra cotton. On the way, he found another tree with presents, and the best find was a candy cane bow. Chris picked flowers for a while, and before he knew it, he had gathered more than enough. He went back to Whiterun to grab any remaining flowers he needed, and then noticed Lucia, the girl Sophie had mentioned. She was sitting alone under a roof looking really sad. It was a tough sight, but Chris quickly finished picking the last of the flowers and made his way to the tanning rack. Luckily, Adrian was walking around, so Chris was able to buy some leather and leather strips to finish crafting the clothes. With everything done, Chris was beyond happy. His gifts were ready. He grabbed a meal, no longer stressed, as he still had 2 days to finish the last preparations. Then he took a bath, left Miko in the basement, and finally went to sleep. The morning was peaceful, a welcome change from the recent rush. Chris enjoyed breakfast near the fireplace and spent some quality time with Isolda. Next, he prepared their Christmas outfits, 2 sets, one red for himself and one blue for Isolda. It was a straightforward task. All he needed were some leather and leather strips to get the job done. After finishing the outfits, Chris took a walk around Whiterun. The decorations around town were stunning, giving everything a festive glow. Feeling inspired, he decided to extend his walk all the way to Riverwood. Along the way, he stumbled across another decorated tree with presents underneath. To his surprise, he found another candy cane bow. Riverwood was equally charming. Chris discovered more presents to unpack, including something new, a candy cane staff. The fresh air and long walk left him feeling refreshed, and with all his Christmas preparations complete, he decided to dedicate the rest of the day to family time. He still needed to decorate the house, but he planned to do that on Christmas Day. Chris spent the afternoon playing with the kids. After chasing them around outside, he enjoyed a delicious dinner prepared by Isolda. The evening was spent relaxing by the fire, soaking up the cozy atmosphere and having a wonderful time with the kids. It was the perfect way to end the day. The next day was just as cozy, with Chris spending most of it close to his family. To his surprise, he received a gift from someone who looked almost like Santa, a dwarven fishing rod. Later, he finally got around to opening the presents left near his house entrance. Inside, he found a sapphire and a sweet roll, both of which felt like small treasures in their own way. Chris took some time to relax with a warm bath that day. With Christmas just a day away, he wanted everything to be perfect. Feeling accomplished and maybe a little tired, he went to bed earlier than usual. After all, tomorrow was finally Christmas. The morning would be busy because he planned to decorate the house. Chris started his Christmas morning bright and early, before 6 a.m. After a quick breakfast, he dove into decorating the house. He placed a few Christmas trees around the house, decorated the area around the fireplace with presents and teddy bears, and even added some decorations to the kids' room. He decorated his own bedroom too. The house had that perfect, magical Christmas spirit. It took him about 3 hours, but everything was finally ready for the big day. Once the decorating was done, Chris put on his Santa clothes, looking great, but Isolda looked even better in her blue outfit. The family gathered for their Christmas dinner, though Isolda had almost no time to sit down with them since she was busy preparing all the food. But soon enough, it was time for presents. First up was Sophie. She looked adorable in her new dress. When Chris gave her a ball, at first she was a bit surprised, but it all made sense when she heard Miko's bark.
I didn't know you had a doggy. He's so cute. Could I keep him? Please?
She was extremely happy. Next, it was Blaze's turn. He got his fishing clothes and he looked so serious wearing them. Then he discovered his aquariums and his fishing rods. He was absolutely thrilled. Finally, it was Isolda's turn. Chris first gave her a casual outfit and she looked great in it. It was a perfect choice for work, especially at the Bernard Mare. Then came the black long dress. Chris couldn't take his eyes off her. She looked spectacular. He was so excited he had to hug her. Last but not least, he gave her a comfortable dress to wear at home. It fit perfectly, of course. The whole family enjoyed the presents and the evening was filled with joy. As it got late, the kids finally went to bed and Chris and Isolda just sat back and watched them, grateful for the day. Miko kept a watchful eye on the whole family too. But the day wasn't over for Chris yet. He had one more thing to do, so he left the house. The Christmas night was magical. Earlier in the week, he had prepared one more gift. It was for Lucia, the poor girl he had found sleeping on the cold ground behind the Bernard Mare. He left her gifts, woke her up and gave her some warm clothes to keep her from freezing. He also gave her some money and a sweet roll and they had a chat.
It's what Brennan said I should do. He's the only one that's been nice to me since Mama. Since she died. My aunt and uncle took over our farm and threw me out. Said I wasn't good for anything. I wound up here, but I don't know what to do. I miss her so much.
Her story was heartbreaking and Chris felt a deep sadness. After a while, Lucia went back to sleep and Chris just stood there watching her. He promised himself that next year he'd have a bigger house so he could adopt Lucia. He wanted her to have a happy childhood and spend the next Christmas with his family.